concept that global warming is a war by the mainstream media against Christianity is a notion that has been circulating among certain groups. This idea suggests that the media's focus on climate change is actually a covert attack on Christian values and principles. While this claim may seem far-fetched, it is essential to examine the underlying arguments and motivations behind this perspective. One of the primary reasons cited by proponents of this idea is that the mainstream media's emphasis on environmentalism and sustainability is allegedly rooted in a secular, humanistic worldview that contradicts Christian teachings. They argue that the media's portrayal of climate change as a pressing issue is an attempt to undermine the biblical account of creation and the role of humans as stewards of the earth. According to this view, the media's focus on human-induced climate change is an effort to shift the blame from God to humans, thereby diminishing the importance of faith and spirituality in addressing environmental concerns. Moreover, some Christians believe that the media's climate change narrative is intertwined with a broader agenda to promote left-leaning, progressive ideology that is at odds with traditional Christian values. They point to the media's coverage of climate change as a vehicle for promoting abortion, population control, and other issues that are anathema to Christian teachings. This perceived connection between climate change and progressive ideology has led some to conclude that the media's war on Christianity is being waged under the guise of environmentalism. Another factor contributing to this perception is the media's alleged marginalization of Christian voices and perspectives on climate change. Some argue that the media selectively presents the views of secular experts and activists while ignoring or downplaying the contributions of Christian scholars and leaders who offer alternative perspectives on environmental stewardship. This perceived imbalance in coverage has led to feelings of resentment and mistrust among some Christians, who believe that the media is intentionally excluding their viewpoints to advance a secular agenda. However, it is essential to consider the counter-arguments and evidence that challenge this narrative. For instance, many Christian denominations and organizations have explicitly acknowledged the reality of human-induced climate change and have called for action to mitigate its effects. These groups, such as the Evangelical Environmental Network and the Catholic Climate Covenant, argue that caring for creation is a fundamental aspect of Christian stewardship and that addressing climate change is a moral imperative. Furthermore, the scientific consensus on climate change is clear. Human activities, particularly the emission of greenhouse gases, are significantly contributing to the warming of the planet. This conclusion is based on decades of research and evidence from multiple lines of inquiry, including temperature records, melting glaciers, and shifts in species distributions. The overwhelming majority of climate scientists agree that climate change is real, and it is not a phenomenon that can be dismissed as a media concoction or a war on Christianity. In conclusion, while the idea that global warming is a war by the mainstream media against Christianity may seem compelling to some, it is crucial to approach this claim with a critical and nuanced perspective. The available evidence suggests that the media's coverage of climate change is primarily driven by a desire to inform the public about a pressing environmental issue, rather than a concerted effort to undermine Christian values. By engaging in constructive dialogue and acknowledging the complexity of the issue, Christians and non-Christians alike can work together to address the challenges posed by climate change, rather than perpetuating unfounded narratives that divide and polarize communities. Ultimately, a more informed and empathetic understanding of the issue can help to foster a more constructive and collaborative approach to addressing the pressing environmental concerns of our time.